right, you guys, we have all these wonderful little puppies that you've managed to bring into your homes, and now you're wondering, what do I do? Because sometimes when you start fitting that puppy into your home, it works really well, and sometimes you have some problems. It may be chewing, it may be housebreaking, all kinds of things that you may have problems with your babies. And so to figure out how to meld them into your house, what you've got to do is take a look at their environment. Where did these puppies come from? And if you were really lucky, you got to visit the house. Anybody get to go home and see where the puppies came from? Good. All right. If you can see that mom and that dad and see the environment that they came from, that is awesome. Did anybody get to see the puppy pile, where everybody's all piled on top of one another? Oh yeah. That is incredibly telling, because the puppy that's on top, that is the alpha puppy. That's the dominant one. That's the one that's going to, he has earned that right. He's not there just because he happened to end up on top. He earned it. He's like very dominant in play. He may bite the other puppies. He's very assertive. He's going to be pretty controlling and a little bit more difficult to train than some of the other puppies. Anybody get that puppy? You did? Okay, yes.
I'd say so. I'm not sure, but I think.
And that one may have too, okay? Now, the bottom of the pile, that little precious baby is the most submissive puppy. And that one comes with its own set of problems. Anybody get the puppy on the very, very bottom? You got the softie, okay. And they're just really quiet and really sweet, but they also have some things that can be challenging. Everybody else pretty much lines up in between those two. Now, when you bring the puppy home, he's thinking, okay, I got to recreate this pack thing. He knows what he's used to, so he kind of tries to recreate that whole pack at home. But the problem is, you didn't bring him into a dog pack, probably. You brought him into a human pack. And when you do that, suddenly the dog doesn't know what to do, because you're treating him as if he was a human, and he's reacting as a dog would react. So that, if you're going to do this, you've got to figure out where he's coming from and how to react to it. So that brings us to pack theory. And pack theory, I think, is probably the most important thing that you need to know about training your puppy, especially at this age. Dogs innately know there has to be a leader of the pack. Okay? The pack may be humans, it may be dogs, children, some combination, but there is a pack in your family. They know there has to be a person on top that has to be in charge. If you do not act like a pack leader, guess who's going to? They are, because there has to be a leader and they know it. But a puppy or a dog is very ill-equipped to become a pack leader. They don't know how humans operate, but they are sure going to try. So if you set the puppy up to be in charge of your household, he's going to do what he wants. He's going to chew on your furniture because he wants to. He's in charge. He gets to. He's going to pee on stuff because, hey, it's his house. He can do whatever he wants to do. He's going to sleep where he wants because pack leaders get the choice of the resting places. They get the choice of the mates. They get to eat first. They get to go out of doors first. They take you for walks. And basically, they run your lives. Anybody guilty yet? Nobody's guilty of that? I thought so. At least nobody's admitting it. Okay. So...
Or they don't realize they're doing it.
Well, and that could be too, is they don't know what's going on yet. So what you've got to do is you've got to become the pack leader. Now, that means a lot of crucial things. I think one of the most important thing is the dog needs to have to sleep on the floor. If you put him up on the furniture and on the chairs with you, then what's going to happen is he's going to think that he's just as good as you are. And it is wonderful to take this little baby and put him on your lap and hold him. But you think about, what are you going to do when this puppy gets to be 90 pounds? It's not quite as attractive then. And there's something about the level. If the dog is on the same level as you are, sure enough, he thinks that he's going to be in charge. So it's really important that that puppy stay on the floor. He needs to sleep on the floor, and whenever he's resting, anytime, he needs to be on the floor, not the furniture with you. That's probably a biggie. Anybody guilty of letting them sleep on the bed yet? Got one, okay.
Heard a lot of oops.
Oops, that's okay. Second, I think food's really important as far as, now with the little bitty ones, you do have to feed real frequently, but it's a good idea to put your food down, take it up, put it down, take it up. Not necessarily free feed unless you've got a medical problem going on. That kind of elevates your status. It makes you look more important to the dog because suddenly you've got, hey, I've got the food, man, and I give it to you. So that elevates your status. That's important. It's also good if you eat before the puppy eats because alphas eat first. Puppies eat second. Okay, so that makes a difference. Doorways are huge. You open the door and the puppies go running out. If they go running out in front of you, they are the ones in charge. Okay, so you really should, for safety's sake if nothing else too, is stop, make the puppy wait, you open the door, and then you take them outside. But don't let them run outside first. You want to make sure that they do stuff for you before you pet them. Now, it's really hard when they're this wonderfully cute not just to pet them because they're alive. All right? So what you want to do is just push them very gently into a sit, praise them, and then, let me borrow Puppy. And you just repeat that a few times. Sit. There you go. And praise him and tell him how wonderful he is. Good, Puppy. There you go. Good. All right, we need to talk about toys and playing with your puppy. Anytime that you play with your puppy, make sure that you don't do tug of war. What that does is teaches the puppy to pull against you, which is a very alpha thing. Now, if you do that, which I highly recommend you don't, but if you do, make sure that you win. Okay, you have to end up with the toy. That's huge. A lot of times your little golden puppies and stuff will come over and drop a toy in your lap and say, hey, play now. Best idea is to encourage them to sit for you first or lay down, praise them for that, and then let them go play and play with them. And then stop playing when you're ready to stop before they're ready to stop. Okay? That kind of puts you in the controller thing.
Okay, when you have a puppy and he takes something, like if he takes a shoe or he takes a towel off of the stove, how do you get it back from him in a way that's not tug of war and confrontational?
Well, what you're going to do is, if he's, first of all, you try and puppy-proof your house so he doesn't have those things down. So it teaches everybody to pick stuff up. But if he does get something, can you get a hold of him, or does he like run?
He runs.
All right.
With his new treasure.
With his new thing, yes. What I usually tell people to do that is like leave a light leash on them so that you can get within 3 or 4 feet and then just step on the leash, go get him, kind of get on top of him, which I'll talk about in a second, and then just pull it out of his mouth. Okay. But if he's not on leash, you really can't do a whole lot with that. Okay?
Okay.
All right, we're going to talk about voice tones because people call me and they go, well, I told him no. I said like no 4 times and he's just kept doing it. Well, do you think he's like born with this little dictionary that says no means you did something bad? They don't know what no means. They listen to your voice. So you need to have 3 basic voice tones. You've got the, yay, good pupper, doggy, that was so good. And they're like, oh yeah, this is a good thing. And then you got the, got it, which is the voice that says you made a mistake. Then you got a command voice, sit, down, stay. So you've got 3 distinct voices, and the dog will listen to those voices, and that tells him whether or not he's doing something right or something wrong. And this also brings us kind of to like, what do you do when your puppy makes a mistake? How do you praise him? How do you, for appropriate behavior, and what do you do when he does something wrong? You try and set your puppy up to do everything right as much as you possibly can. So that goes along with puppy-proofing your house. I like to keep them in 3 places. They're either on a leash, attached to me for a long time, or they're in the crate, or they're outside. So if you've got him in an enclosed room with you where you can watch him like a hawk, you never ever even take your eyes off, and you let him run around playing or whatever, give him toys that are appropriate for him to play with that you want him to play with. If he picks up something that he shouldn't have, just go over, honey, give him a little negative voice, doesn't have to be a big thing, take it away from him and give him an appropriate toy. Now, if it's something a little, like let's say he's chewing on the pillow, okay, or he's chewing on the furniture. That's another question people frequently call me with. It's like, he's chewing on my furniture. What do I do? And I'm like, what are you doing? Watching? Put the dog in the crate. Keep him on leash. You don't allow the dog to do all these things wrong and then so that you can correct him for it. Try and set it up so that he's doing the right thing as much as you possibly can.
Now, I heard if you put the dog in a crate for doing something bad, they'll learn to hate their crate.
Oh no, that's going to be like your sanity. I make the crate, you can use a little crate like this or whatever's appropriate for the dog, but you put him in there and give him a treat every time you put him in. Even if they did something wrong, you can still put him in the crate. It's okay, as long as you're putting him in the crate a lot of the time for doing good things too.
Okay.
So if you're putting him in and out all the time and you're like, I'm going to kill you, dog, you go in the crate and it's all right. That's fine.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Right. If you feed the puppy in the crate, that makes the crate a really good place to be. You want to make sure that when your puppy comes in, he's willing to go in his crate. So every time you put that pup in the crate, give him a toy, give him something to munch on, give him their dinner, and pretty soon that crate becomes a pretty wonderful place. So when he is driving you nuts and you want to put him in the crate, you can do that, and that works out really well. Throw cans are an awesome tool. Throw cans are like a Pepsi can or 7-Up can or something, just a can of pop that you drank. Clean it out, put some pennies in it, put some duct tape on the end, and let's say that puppy runs over and starts to chew on a pillow. Look around the corner, boom, throw the throw can really close to him. You're not trying to like hit him with it, just enough to startle him and go, whoa, where'd that come from? So that he thinks maybe God just reached down and zapped him. Okay? It's a good thing. You don't really want him to associate it with you. You just want him to think that something really bad happened. If he's jumping up on counters, you can use mouse traps on the counters. And when because these guys are way too little for that, but like coffee tables, if they're jumping up there, put a mouse trap. I have never had a puppy get caught with one of those yet. And they also make those really big ones that could never catch anything. They just go off. So they jump up, they get surprised. I've had people do like pots and pans on stoves and tie a little string to them, and the puppy puts his feet up on the stove. You pull the string and the pots and pans come crashing down. Any time that you can make something really noisy, scary happen for the dog making a mistake, that's going to be a correction that you aren't really doing in his mind. Because you don't want the puppy thinking that you are the controller. You want the environment to be the controller. If they're fussing in the crate, a good thing to do with puppies fussing in the crate, there's nobody in here. But if they do, you could just, and better yet, put a towel over it before you do that. That way, yes, that way he doesn't know it's you. Sneak up behind him, play the drums on the crate. And if you do it consistently, pretty soon they'll be really quiet in the crate. They will. But if they fuss a lot in the crate and then you let them out, they've learned that fussing gets them out of the crate. So when they're in the crate, you want to be real positive and let them out when they're being good in the crate.
How long, if let's say my dog is barking, wants to get out of the crate, and he needs to be in there. And so I wait for him to stop barking to let him out, because I decide, well, maybe I should let him out. Maybe he's thirsty or something. So how long should I wait? 3 seconds, 4 seconds? He's quiet now. Before he's going to associate, and so he's...
I would say probably, 15, 30 seconds is fine. Okay. I would rather see him lay down and go to sleep and then wake him up and let him out.
So maybe I should just put earplugs in and leave him in
just
there.
kind of walk away. If you're thinking, well, maybe he really doesn't have to go potty, then I get him out and I take him out. But assuming he's already been out, he's already done his thing, everything should be fine, then I just either bang on the crate or put a towel over it, or I just walk away and just let him fuss.
Okay.
Well, there are a lot of products out there that are like aversion things, sour apple or bitter apple, whatever that is, sprays, to keep. Are those type of aversion products okay to use?
Sure.
So they're...
Yeah, you can do those.
Okay. So
Not a problem. Those are fine. Some dogs
interaction
just
isn't
eat
necessarily...
them.
okay.
But most of the time they work. Yeah, most of the time they work pretty well. So that's a good thing to do. If you can have the environment control the dog, then that's a lot better. That way you don't have to be there all the time.
Okay.
You want to make sure that you're praising your dog for appropriate behavior. So, because we've been talking about all the negative stuff, when your dog is doing something right, you need to pet him for it. Realize that your hands are really important to him. Anytime you touch your dog, you're praising him for that behavior. So if the baby comes up in his cute little self and climbs up your legs and you push him off with your hands, you've just praised him for jumping up on you. So what's he going to do to your family and your guests? He's going to jump up on it because it works. Okay? Instead, I just kind of, Greta, get off of me. I throw a little nasty fit. If it's a big dog, I may do this. For these guys, you kind of do your ankle. I don't really like stepping on their feet and pinching their paws or stepping and that kind of stuff. I just don't like it. But I do bump them off and get a real grouchy noise, and then I take them, kind of push them into a sit and praise them for that. And if every time you pet your dog, you make him sit first, what's he learning? He's learning to come up to people and sit, and then he gets praised. And that's what you want. One time I was in my vet's office, and I usually go to the vet's office with 5 dogs. And I was in there, I had 5 dogs laying down around me. There's this gentleman with a dog on his lap, and he's got like a 60-pound dog on his lap, and it's growling at me, okay? This is not a small dog. He's growling away, and he's petting it. And I'm going, okay, dog trainer and me could not handle it any longer. Excuse me, sir. If you would quit petting your dog for growling at me, he might stop. And he went, oh. So he stopped petting the dog, and the dog quit growling. So what he was trying to do was reassure the dog that everything was okay, but he was actually setting the dog up and praising the dog for a behavior he didn't want. Many times I see people in class with the older dogs, they come in and the dog is biting, snarling, snapping, showing fear, hiding behind their legs, and they're treating them as if they're a little kid. And they pull them and they hug them and they pet them, trying to tell them that it's okay. And all they're really doing is reinforcing that behavior. So you have to remember, they are not little kids in fur coats. They are dogs. And you've got to treat them like dogs. And that makes all the difference in the world. Okay, we're going to also talk, when we're talking about corrections, you have to make sure that you're really consistent with what you're doing. It can't be okay one day to jump on the couch, and the next day it's not okay. So it's never okay. It's not, oh, he's been so good, I think I'll let him do that this time. No, it's just like kids, all right? You set the rules, you be consistent. Everybody in the family needs to buy into it. You don't want mom being really lax and dad being really stern. You both, or vice versa, okay? Sometimes the guys are the bigger the wimps of the two. So you've got to make sure that you're consistent with the rules, all right? Now, sometimes pro cans and all of that stuff just is not enough. They're chewing on you. Does anybody have puppies that chew on them? Yeah, okay. You know what this whole chewing thing's about? They're trying to figure out who's in charge. That is an alpha thing. That's them trying to get to be the dominant puppy. They chew on each other. So when they chew on each other, just like some of these guys that you've seen it has been chewing on each other, they're trying to figure out who's in charge, who is more alpha. So when the puppy chews on you, he's trying to, he's trying to, oh, let me have him. Come here. Hi, bud. You gonna be a chewer? Are you gonna be a chewer, Dad? Oh, yeah. So when they start this chewing business, quit. Good pupper. That was good. Now, notice he went from chewing to licking. Quit. Stop it. Good puppy dog. I learned so much from my see the licking, that's really good. From my 8-year-old Akita. She would wait and let the puppies that I brought home play and chew and chew. And finally she'd have enough. And she would growl and she would snarl and they'd keep at it. And finally she said, that's enough. And she'd grab him by the back of the neck, she'd shake him a little bit and grunt, rah, quit. And then sometimes that would work for about 5 minutes. And then they'd be back. And the next thing you know, she'd put a paw and push him to the floor. If that didn't stop them, she'd lay on them and bite their necks until they quit. So when you get like, this is perfect. This is kind of in a listening position where you're over the dog. When you are physically over the dog like this, then that's you being dominant because you're the person on top. When the puppy puts his paw on you, he's being dominant. Quit. Good puppy. Yeah. Look at that. Isn't that good? He goes, I'll be good. Now, I want you. I want you, little one. Come here. Hi. I know. And now, if the listening position doesn't do it, then we go to a little bit tougher where we actually pull them down like this. Are you going to be, it's not bad. And you just squeeze with your knees, hold them down with your shoulders. I am not strangling him. But he may throw a fit, and he may not.
He's not in charge.
Because he is not in charge, exactly. I am holding him so that he can't get up and do anything. He has to stay right here. Good. Now, what we're going to do in just a second is I'm going to have you guys practice this with your puppies. All right? And what you want to be able to do is I'll kind of demo this first, is you're going to have them in your, quit, here. And it's also important to, quit, stop it. You need to breathe calmly and praise. And honestly, think about good stuff. And just really try and think calming thoughts, quit, which may or may not work. And you're going to try to go from this position, I should have done this with Bud, up to here. Good. Quit. And then you're going to come up on your feet. Quit. And eventually be able to sit in your chair. Now, some of you may be able to sit up in your chair, and some of you may not be able to sit up in your chair, or even try standing. So if you're on the floor, you can just try kind of do what I'm doing. And then you're going to come up like this. Notice that where I am above the pup and over him. This is a very dominant position on my part. Anytime that you are over, that is dominance. The puppy laying still or looking away or quit, licking his lips are signs of submission. Good puppy. That's right. Stay. Quit. No. Stop. Quit. Good. Very good. Yes, that's good. Okay, that was a good puppy. Yes, they're going to mom. So when you look at the puppies playing with each other, when one puppy is on top of the other one, of course that's dominance. When they just put a foot up, that's dominance. I had this dog that I was working with that every morning I would be petting the top of her head, and the next thing I knew, she was taking her arms and looping them over my arms and pulling them off the top of her head. And I didn't think anything about it. A friend walked by and goes, "Isn't that awfully dominant?" And I went, "Oh my, it is." And I said, I didn't even catch that. So I stopped and I started holding her head down and making her let me pet the top of her head. Her training improved. It was just amazing. So when that pup puts his foot on you, that's not totally innocent. It's a little test to see if you're in charge or not. So I may let it go or I may not, depends upon the dog and what they're doing. But just be aware that is a dominance thing. If they're leaning into you, it might be dominance, it might be insecurity. You never know. You kind of got to know your dog. When the puppies, when they submit, they look down, they look away, they may urinate. Dominant puppies also put hackles up on the back of their neck, and they get that strutty thing going. That's all signs of dominance. So when you watch them play, you can see some of them duck and turn away, and some are like on top and ready to rock and roll. So you can kind of see where they're at. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to try and put them down in a listening position. So you want them sitting right in front of you like you've got them. Their little butts kind of lean over them. Push them into a sit. Praise them. Tell them they're good puppies. That's good puppies. And now go ahead and kind of pull their feet out. Put your hand on top of their shoulders and kind of press them to the floor, gently but firmly, and hold them. Get on your knees with Bud. Get him like you're riding a horse. There you go. Push him on. Pull those legs out gently. Kind of push down. Don't let him roll to one side. Good with the collie puppy. Yeah, that's good.
No.
Yeah, he's perfect now. Oh, look at Guinness. She says I can do this. This is okay. Good. Praise him. Good voice.
No.
So how is this position different than alpha rolling them onto their backs?
When you roll them onto their backs, I found that to be a pretty defensible position. In other words, they can claw and scratch at you. And so they can actually push you away and control the situation to a point. This, they have no control. So that's why I like this a lot better.
One more,
Yeah.
real quick. This barking, is that saying I'm that?
That's saying I'm tough, I'm cool. So when you've had enough of a bark, then you just reach over, quit, stop it, enough. Good baby. And then immediately when you do that, you notice the ears go back, the head goes down, and the whole attitude changes. And that's what you want to see. All right, puppy handling. You need to be able to handle these babies. Let me borrow.
He has no joints.
You have no joints?
Nope, he's double jointed.
Are you just double jointed? Okay. All right, I'm going to sit down for this because you're just a lug. You're just a lug. All right, when you're handling your baby, puppy, yes, you need to practice, get ready for toenail trimming. So you want to be able to, don't have joints. Play with their little toes. You can do this while we're talking. Play with their little toeses so that when you get ready to do their nails, you can. Quit. You almost want to turn this baby inside out. So you want to be able to hold him upside down if you need to. You want to be able to look in his ears. That's a good dog. Open his little mouth, look in there, stick your finger in there so you never have to pill him. That's okay. Another good one is to hold them like this and see if they will let you say hi, yes, and to see if they'll let you hold them and relax in this position. Oh, good baby. And so just sit there and mess with them. Some dogs don't like to have their flank touched. Now, as long as you're kind, there's no reason why that shouldn't be okay. So you pat their belly. You look at them everywhere, and you should be able to look at them any place that you want, okay? That is a biggie.